Magandang araw, Podmates! Si Howie Severino muli na nagpapaalala na nakakatalino ang mahabang attention span. Ang paksa natin ngayon ay ang pagbabaha sa Metro Manila at marami pang bahagi ng Pilipinas. At ang ating panauhin ay si Dr. Guillermo Tabios, isang civil engineer, flood control systems expert at Professor Emeritus, University of the Philippines. Magandang araw sa inyo, Professor Tabios.
So, magandang araw sa inyo rin, Howie.
Yeah. Prof, wala nang baha sa kalsada as we speak, no? So, humupa na yung tubig, pero kadadaan ko lang sa ibang bahagi ng Maynila, tambak pa rin ang basura, a vivid reminder kung ano yung pinagdaanan ng marami nating kababayan, no? So, Doc, no, as a scholar of flood control, you must be so frustrated, no, that flooding is still a regular occurrence, no? It's not like this is such a surprise for us, no? May mga lumang litrato ng baha sa Maynila noong colonial era pa. 2024 na ngayon, bakit hindi natin masolusyonan ang pagbabaha?
Well, geographically or topography-wise, bale, Metro Manila is a city built on swamplands. I mean, the big part of Metro Manila, yung low-lying area, especially yung Old Manila, and of course, somewhere in Sampaloc, Tondo, Binondo, you name it, Pasay. That's the floodplain, or not really a floodplain, but is the delta ng Marikina River Basin or Tulian River Basin, even parts of Valenzuela and Obando. Those are mountains, coming from Sierra Madre and then going down. And then it ends up like after few kilometers, naging flatland siya. And when you reach a flatland, definitely that will be what we call a delta. You'll have a network of channels that form like a delta towards the sea. Now you build a city on that. That's why we have esteros, yung mga sa Paco Estero, all those esteros in Manila. So it's really flood prone to begin with. Then you have these developments where you modify the channel network in a delta. So magtayo ka ng mga housing doon o magtayo ka ng mga daan, mawawala yung natural na waterways. So I think even in the 1500s, 1600s, meron tayong mga swamps doon, meron tayong mga esteros, meron tayong mga canals that bring out water from Marikina River Basin or Tulian all the way down. Wala namang tao, walang flood disaster. Now you put people, so nagkaroon ng disaster.
Okay, Doc. No, let's just pause there and think about what you just said. So Maynila is basically part of a low-lying area of Luzon, kaya talagang prone to flooding yan. Tapos nilagyan natin ng maraming developments at daming population dito. Dahil nga may strategic value din yung kanyang location, no? Pero Doc, no, we're not the only low-lying urban center in the world, no? I mean, nagbabasa kami ngayon tungkol sa kasaysayan ng flooding sa ibang bahagi ng mundo. You're very aware of the experience of Holland,
Yes.
no? Low-lying din po sa Europa, at nagkaroon din sila ng devastating flooding noong 1953, no? The Great North Sea Flood, no? Na ang dami rin namatay. 1953 na 'yon, no? More than 50 years ago. And nagkaroon sila ng whole of society approach. Gumawa sila ng mga dike, levees, polders, kung ano-ano mga infrastructure. And now, they are considered a global leader in flood risk management, no? So, why can't we do the same thing? Bakit natin kailangan mag-suffer ng paulit-ulit na ganito? So what is preventing us from managing flood risk, no? Na other societies have done that, at tayo ay paulit-ulit tayo nagdudusa ng ganito.
One of the features tropical countries, it's really a humid tropic country where you can get lots of rains. Typhoons, in our case, We also have monsoons. We have even the intertropical convergence zone. And when the trade winds, converge, then you have these rains and so on. Now in Europe, it's also the same. There are areas that are low-lying, and in fact, in Spain or even in Rome, and then in Paris, but they have big rivers along those big cities. We also have a big river, Pasig River, which is maybe we pattern it from those European cities. But I think the big difference is that we are in a humid tropic country, lots of rain. So that's a big difference. Now, when you think about flood management or flood risk management, it's so difficult to just kind of do this, do that, because there are so many components as far as flood control, structural measures, and then you have non-structural measures. But one of the things that I've been noticing in the Philippines, we're very good in master planning. But the problem with the master planning, it's dependent on mga foreign na mga technical assistance. That's one. So once na ginawa yung study, pagtapos na yon, ginawa na, and then umalis na yung mga foreign consultants, wala nang follow-up. Now, if I look at flood uh, dynamics, flood disasters, it's a very evolutionary in nature, very dynamic, because you have, of course, land use change. When you change the land use, you'll have different pervious and impervious areas. You have mga encroachment, kung meron mga land developments, nawala na yung mga waterways that will bring water from the inland towards the rivers and then towards the sea. And you have all kinds of modifications and even unwanted na mga like garbage, like even in local drainage. Nawala yung capacity kasi napuno ng garbage. Now, how do you bring water all the way to the river and so on? Now, the other thing with flood control, we can always do master planning, but then yung investments does not come right away. I mean, approved in 2012 yung Metro Manila Flood Master Plan. 350 billion, yung 350 billion, maybe 100 billion or so, nagawa pa. But that was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, ang dami na nagbago. Nagkaroon ng bagong subdivision dito, nagkaroon ng mga condominium, nawala na yung mga waterways, nagkaroon ng dumi. So it's overtaken by that, yung mga changes, bale. So should we keep on updating or revising our plan, which is no longer master planning, but really adaptive planning? You retrofit or you adapt because nagbago na yung river landscape or yung landscape, so to speak, which is where all the flood, all the dynamics of flooding talaga, it's really affected by yung even social na mga yung migration. No? Dumami yung tao dito. In
Yeah,
fact,
so Doc, no, I just wanted to ask you specifically about Typhoon Karina kasi yan ang recent experience ng maraming tao. At in the wake of that disaster, ang daming mga factors nga yung nabanggit, no? Yung Pangulo mismo, no, nabanggit niya climate change, ang basura, yung ibang tao naman, pati mga senador, no, sinasabi malaking factor itong reclamation project sa Manila Bay. Ang daming nagtuturoan, pasaway kasi mga tao, nabanggit nyo rin yung basura, and then nabanggit nyo rin yung master planning. Sabi ng iba, wala ngang master plan, puro mga maliliit na projects. And of course, there's the issue of deforestation at kulang sa reforestation. How do these fit together? No? Ano yung pinakamalaking factor? Kasi given na yung low-lying tayo, no? Given na yan, hindi naman pwedeng i-evacuate yung Metro Manila. Nandiyan na yan, no? So, what's the best way of adapting, no? Should we, for example, stop the reclamation projects?
Yung reclamation was a different story. But when you look at flood control, definitely you have to start from the headwaters, so uplands, watersheds, all the way down. Now, that's what we always say holistic approach to flood risk management. Now, one of the things that really reduces the capacity of the rivers, yung sediments. So how do you control sediments? But upstream ba, meron ka ng mga control, maybe you have forest that will minimize yung sediment yield from the watersheds and then gets into your river, it then shallows the river. Imagine mo, during Typhoon Ondoy, that area in Loyola Grand Villa, there was a Tumane Bridge doon. And if you're aware of that, that crosses yung from Loyola Grand Villa, dyan sa Balara, you go down there and then you go across to San Mateo or Marikina, no? Tumana. That was an overflow bridge. So nakakadaan doon on top, meron kang concrete, tapos meron culvert sa bottom, and then pag mataas ang tubig, tatapon lang doon. So hindi pwedeng dumaan doon. But during Ondoy, it must have been filled up mga 2 to 3 meters of sediment over a period of mga 7 hours. So imagine mo that area, syempre na-bury siya, 2 to 3 meters. But think along the river, 2 to 3 meters nawala yung depth na yun. So it will reduce that so much capacity. So that's one. So that's why you have to have controls upstream.
Excuse me, Doc. No? Saan naman ang galing yung sediment na nagbara ng ilog? Dahil ba walang puno sa gubat?
That's one. Because if you are really a lot of rain, mahirap i-control yung sediment na mag-erode from your watersheds. Archipelagic countries, ganun talaga ang problema. You can, either you're quarrying along the river banks and so on, but the bulk of the sediment comes from yung overland flow plains na watersheds mo. I mean, not in the river, but on the sides, you know. So, because you just have so much rain. We're talking about humid tropic rains, which are like 400, 500 millimeters in one day. That's a lot of rain, you know, if you think about it. Anyway, so you go down to the downstream. So napuno ng sediment and nawala na yung capacity river mo. Now you also have some debris coming from the mountains. Maybe mga logs or maybe some of these na-uprooted na mga vegetation. They will also contribute to, we call it creates roughness or friction, valley, because you have these mga roughness elements and so on. So those are things. Now, if you think about those kinds of rains na na-experience natin, Ondoy, Carina, Ulysses, yung habagat or yung sudden onset ng mga typhoons na storms, it's just so much rain that we are experiencing, Bale. So it's not quite easy to control that as far as
Yeah.
That's the problem. You can do this, but one of the things that I've noticed in the Philippines, and that's where we don't really have a dedicated body to look at this flood risk management or flood planning or adaptive planning for flood control on a daily basis. Or when I say daily, it's like maybe you do a study every day, but good for the next 3 months or 6 months. Because a year ago, ito na nga nangyari. And if you look at Metro Manila, you have different sub-basins or where you have Marikina, Tulyahan, nandun sa Pote, Bacoor, and those areas. You have to, as an academic body, you have to run simulation models. Different scenarios, you change the land use, what will happen if you do this kind of a structural measure or non-structural measures, what happens, will it work? Maybe it works here, but doesn't work another place. And then you think in terms of floods na generating mechanism, typhoons are so much different from habagat. In fact, if you look at the master plan na ginawa noong 2010, World Bank yung nag-fund on, all the design flood parameters, we call it, based on a 2-day rainfall. based on 1:50, 1:100, like one shot over the next 2 days. But we can have multiple peaks in our floods, our rain. And then it can even last for 5 days. Like the Habagat of 2012, August, that was 7 days, ulan na ulan. Mahina yung intensity, pero over 7 days, you have more than what you got from Undoy or Ulysses. Same thing with Karina. You get in 3 days' time, you got more than what fell during Undoy over almost 24 hours. 455 yung Undoy 24 hours. Karina about 600 over almost 3 days,
Yeah.
almost 65 hours.
Yeah, nabanggit niyo yung Ondoy, no, to 2009, no? Maybe some of our listeners may be too young to even remember, but that was
Yeah.
a defining disaster for many, no? Ang daming na traumatize yung mga
Mhm.
mulat na noon, no? That was grabe ang lalim ng baha noon, nakakatakot
Yes.
yung taas ng tubig, etc., no? What should have happened after that? Sabi niyo nga, naglabas ng gobyerno ng master plan noong 2010. One year later, na-implement ba? May nag-improve ba mula nung Ondoy noong 2009? No? That was 15 years ago. You would think may mga plano na in place to prevent a Karina from causing the same kind of disaster.
Yeah. So they were running the models to look at the performance of mga different flood components, flood control components, here and there, structural, not structural, based on a 2-day, 50-year or 100-year, because Ondoy was about 80-year return period of flood. So you have over 2 days, meron ang peak na ganon. Tapos. But Karina or Habakkuk to 2012, it's a prolonged multi-peak, although mas magbaba yung intensity. So that's a different scenario as far as flood dynamics is concerned. I want to mention during the time 2009, a week after that, from October 2 to October 10, there was a typhoon Pepeng in Agno River Basin in Pangasinan. That one is a single peak typhoon. Every time, kaya lang 3 beses dumaan doon. Pumasok siya, lumabas. Tapos pumasok ulit, lumabas. Pumasok ulit, third time, doon ang pinakamadaming rainfall. But during the time, the affected na big flood structure, yung San Roque Dam, napuno yon. So on October 9, that was after 5 days, they have to release 5,000 cubic meters per second. That's like maybe 21 to 22 meter size sa Santo Niño na amount of flow. Pero doon, binaha yung Carmen Rosales hanggang second floor ng SM Rosales during that time. So, that was not Habagat, but it's 3 times pabalik-balik. So that's the difference. That's what you call Fujiwara effect na during the time, meron typhoon dito. A little bit in Taiwan, meron typhoon. Hindi siya makapasok doon. Hindi siya makapunta doon yung Pepeng. Kaya pabalik-balik siya sa Pangasinan. We can have a similar situation in Metro Manila like that. It could be like a multi-peak typhoon over a span of 4 or 5 days. We haven't experienced that, but that's another scenario na pag nangyari yun, delikado. Parang magkaroon ka ng Ondoy 3 times. That's a possibility.
So Doc, is there a way of preventing flooding then? Parang lumalabas inevitable halos eh. These are acts of nature, no? Obviously. But so is there something we can do to prevent, this kind of suffering of people?
Yeah, in flood studies, Vale, what we do is really, if you have a sort of what we call a digital twin, like a mathematical model of the entire Metro Manila, you can run scenarios, different typhoon, multiple peak typhoons, Habagat, etc., and then look at what you do in Marikina, what you do in Pasay, what you do in Tulyahan, all this together. You look at all the possible scenarios as far as the weather, you look at the possible scenarios as far as na nagkaroon ng land use na ganito or maybe these kinds of sediment na nagbago yung river landscape mo, maybe nagkaroon ng debris, and then look at the performance. But you can always do all kinds of simulations and then look at the possible solutions and assess the performance of these different solutions because you're looking at a very complex. By the way, if you look at the flood problem, it's what we call a wicked problem. It's a highly nonlinear, large scale, complex, unpredictable, uncertain, and you name it. I'll give you an analogy, and a very simple maybe too. You look at the traffic problem in, let's just talk about Quezon City area, bounded by EDSA, and then you have this Ortigas doon sa side na yun, and then C5, and then maybe somewhere in Commonwealth. So the C5, I mean this area, this quadrangle na to, marami kang mga pumapasok, lumalabas na vehicles, ano? Tapos meron ng mga malls na parang magpa-parking yun, parang mga reservoirs yun. Pagkatapos yung pinaka-waterway mo, yung mga road network. Some roads will be small, some become big. And then you have this mga vehicles tumatakbo. Na meron mga driver na behavior na pag ganito, pag ganyan, pag ganyan, ganyan. And you look at the traffic flow. And then you have this MMDA, yung mga traffic enforcers. Stop dito, go doon, pero the traffic enforcer in Katipunan does not know the traffic enforcer dito sa Commonwealth, sa C5 Commonwealth. They don't coordinate. They don't to each other. Basta stop, go, and so on. As far as their eyes can see, stop. As far as their eyes can see, is go. It's really a lot of chaos, hindi ba? We see him like that. And the road network is just like the intricate network of the roads. It's just an intricate network of flood channels. If you look at the city of even Quezon City, the waterways from San Juan to so on, Araneta, galing dito sa Marikina, galing doon, pag mag-meet sila sa Pandacan, parang ganun lang yan. Now, you think about a reservoir, you can store water like a detention pond, like a parking lot, papasok yung mga vehicles, and then at certain time, lalabas na naman sila, maybe it's rush hour, lalabas sila lahat. So, this is a very intricate, if you look at the discrete particles tumatakbo, the difference of water is just continuum na materials, but it's as complex, as uncertain, as a large-scale, wicked problem as that.
Okay, so if you were to recommend a infrastructure solution, what would it be?
It depends where you are. Yung parating lang pinapausapan nyo sa reclamation. No? I always make the analogy na if you have this water coming from doon na sa Rojas Boulevard, so if you have the sea right away along Rojas Boulevard, maybe that was way back in the 60s, wala pa yung reclamation sa SMOA and CCP, wala pa yun. Yung tubig, pag tumalong doon sa Rojas Boulevard, there's a very wide river that gets to Manila Bay. So nakatalon na agad. Now you reclaim. Nagkaroon ka ng reclamation. So in a flatland, it takes more time and farther away from the sea para tatakbo yung tubig. So magkaroon sila mga waterways this way. Parang mga fingers of channels. But some reclamations don't do it that way. If you go to Florida, if you go to even San Francisco or San Jose, meron mga reclamation doon. Ang reclamation nila, kung ito yung coast, i-reclaim na dito na area, pero dito na part, channel pa rin. Pagkatapos to go across that, meron mga bridges. So yung main channel mo ay yung pinaka-waterway mo connects the reclaim area, which is an island, to the mainland. Do we do that? We don't do that, di ba? If you go to Holland, it's the same thing, some of those. You go to yung kay Donald Trump na Mar-a-Largo, ganun yun. Naka-usli, kaya in between, tatakbo yung tubig, walang problema. Because go to the sea, di ba?
Yeah, sa madaling salita, Doc,
That's
the
a
way the
solution.
Manila Bay reclamation is being done will worsen flooding sa palagay ninyo.
Yes, because yun na sinabi ni Tony Loizaga during the hearing, kasi nga, kinat mo na yung natural waterways na it's an open, big, wide Rojas Boulevard. Pero kung lagay mo ng kanal doon, mag-bridge ka papunta sa kabilang side, wala, parang hindi ganun yung reclamation mo. It will not adversely impact yung pag-discharge ng tubig from the inland to the sea. Dapat
So
yung
dapat
mga
ang dapat ang design ng project may daanan yung Pasig River.
it will be
Oo,
like an
doon sa
island
gitna ng
talaga.
reclaimed area.
Oh, magkaroon ng island doon. Yung reclaim area is an island. But as may mga bridges. You look at some areas sa Louisiana, sa Florida, ganun ang pag-reclaim nila. Naiwan doon sa gitna. Tapos nakalabas papunta sa sea. So, in other words, ito yung Rose Boulevard, dito, meron kang reclamation. Sa gitna, open yung na canal towards the sea. About a year ago, I think, there was flooding in Rojas after they built yung whatever yung Dolomite na beach, Tapos meron na problema yung pumping and so on. Kasi nga, nareclaim mo na yung area na yon. Pero dapat nilagay mo ng waterway in between. Parang cut-off channel, so to speak, all the way to the sea. So walang problema kung na gano'n.
So bakit nga hindi kinonsider yun? Matagal na yung problema
That's what
natin
I
ng
think.
pagbabaha.
If I were to think about flood control, those are things that if you run a digital twin nung area na yan, you could see this scenario. If you do this, if you do that, what happens? So walang mga ganun sa atin. We don't do that. We don't vet it, so to speak. Kung ano yung mangyari sa flood dynamics. Now, if you look at other areas, one of the things I've been advocating dito sa Marikina River, where the water coming from Sierra Madre and then going down to Marikina City all the way to Pasay or Pasig River all the way to Manila, it's just so much because we are humitropic. So how do we control that? Can you move the water from the mountains all the way to the other side right away? Which is, in the case of Kuala Lumpur, they diverted the water. This is the Klang River watershed. Instead of going to Kuala Lumpur, dinivert nila dito. Sa Iloilo, we have this Haro River or Jaro River. Dumadaan rin niya sa Iloilo City. They diverted this way. They put a channel that goes right to the sea. We can do that. In fact, I've been suggesting in Cagayan de Oro, same thing. There's a area there na pwede mo i-divert coming from Mount Kitanglad in Bukidnon, goes down to Cagayan River, Cagayan de Oro City, instead of pupunta sa Ipunan River. So it will avoid the big city na wala ka na magawa. Kasi nandun na yan. Ang dami na talagang development. You cannot remove them. Now, there are schemes in Marikina River where, of course, in 1982, we built the Mangahan Floodway, where from Marikina River, we diverted through Mangahan Floodway to be temporarily stored sa Laguna Lake. And part of that supposedly overall flood control scheme is that because you have now put so much water in Laguna Lake, and Napindan is a very small channel to evacuate the waters right away, magkaroon ng Parañaque Spillway. Pero hindi na nagawa yun kasi very urban na yung area na yan. So merong scheme ngayon yung World Bank na study in 2010. Somewhere in Muntinlupa, you dig a hole all the way down 30 meters below, a tunnel, and then 30 meters na hole na naman, parang butas na yan, to pump it out to Manila Bay. But definitely that's a very not a good idea because sediments will come in, garbage can get in, and then you have to pump it on the other side. That's very expensive. And then part of the World Bank plan is to put a spillway, they call it also a spillway, somewhere in Pakil, that area. If you look at the lake, merong three lobes na ganito. There's the west lobe, meron ka central, pagkatapos yung east lobe, which is somewhere is Halahala and all the way to Pacific Ocean. But that's Laguna Lake level. Maybe it can go up mga 3-4 meters of sea level. Move it almost 22 kilometers to the right side. It will hardly move the water from that point all the way 22 kilometers away. Kaya iniisip ko, somewhere in Marikina, a little bit upstream of Marikina Dam, put a tunnel all the way to Kaliwa River. Somewhere in Kaliwa Low. That's about 25 kilometers, 26 kilometers. So pwedeng ganun sana, isang scheme yan.
What would this be, Doc? This would be a tunnel, parang spillway then, galing sa watershed, heading to
Yes,
the Kaliwa
yeah.
River, and then ang
Supposedly-
exit niya, Pacific na.
It will be in Kaliwa River. Kaliwa River. Kaliwa River goes to Agos and then goes to Pacific Ocean.
Okay.
Kung diretso
So
natin-
parang diversion, ida-divert mo yung floodwaters, yung agos ng
Just
tubig.
like Haro River, we diverted it. Or yung River Klang na river, which is the smart tunnel, stormwater and road tunnel sa Kuala Lumpur, dinivert mo lang. Pinadiretso mo instead of dadaan pa ng Marikina. Pero sa atin na case, i-divert natin on the other side instead of on the other sideways lang bale. Sa atin, opposite way.
So itong proposal, this idea to divert water to the Pacific Ocean rather than allow that same water to flood, Metro Manila, pinag-uusapan ba yan ngayon? Ginagawa bang priority yung mga ganong klaseng suggestions?
I always thought there was a little bit of politics behind that. In 2010, when the World Bank study master plan finished, and then it was approved by yung ICC, yung sa Infracom ng NEDA, DPWH, so on, under Secretary Babe Simpson Jr. then, 2012 bata yan, wala pa yung sa study niyan. And I was telling Secretary Babe Simpson, he was DPWH then, and the waters are, that's a good idea. So sabi niya, why don't you ask students to do a study? So I had students to do the study. But it was never really picked up seriously by the government. A lot of the flood control, especially in Metro Manila, it's like dominated by mga Chika consultants. Japanese. If that's not really their idea, I hope I'm not controversial here. Maybe they will not really entertain. They will not. So if you want to do that, you do it your own. But who am I to be influencing yung kind? There is a JICA office in DPWH, di ba? So maybe that's not really going to be entertained because they were insisting na, you have the Parañaque Spillway, where in 2018, imagine 2018, 2014 already, or 2012, I already started talking about this one. 2018, nagkaroon sila ng another study doon sa Parañaque Spillway. I know the details of that. It's about 60 billion. And then they'll put diking sa Laguna Lake, which is another basta umabot ng 140 billion because you diverted water from Marikina to Laguna Lake. But you could have avoided that by spending maybe 60 or 40, 60 billion to put the tunnel that I'm talking about. And on top of that, meron nga silang another tunnel from Pakil, which is lake level ng Laguna, all the way to Pacific Ocean. That's what's in the 2010 study ng World Bank. The reason why I mentioned the Japanese there, because it was a Japanese consulting firm who did the World Bank study.
So, nabanggit niyo yung sa Iloilo, no? Balikan natin yung
Jaro River.
So, would that be an example of a flood control project that has been effective para sa inyo?
Definitely, yeah. It has been working. I think the Iloilo River Promenade na ganon, ang ganda, they were able to build mga restaurants, maganda na hindi na binaba, maganda na bale. Imagine mo, kung nas-divert natin, makaroon tayo ng riverbanks dyan sa Marikina, which was, I think, suggested by Architect Palabox noon. Hindi na sana binabaha yun, yung riverbanks na yun. Di ba?
So what would need to happen sa Marikina River para hindi na magbaha?
That's my suggestion sa Marikina River Basin, bale. Of course, in the other
Mhm.
areas like dito sa San Juan River that joins Pasig in somewhat sa Pandacan, where we have this big parang depressed area around Rodriguez and uh, Araneta, and then even part of yung Quezon Avenue, di ba? Yung in between that. Yung merong De Los Reyes ba yun, hospital doon sa may E. Rodriguez. Nasa first floor ata yung mga binabaha doon. That's a low-lying area. So either you just have to abandon yung lower area for housing or anything, mga tindahan. So that's a non-structural measure. You have to remove the people.
Yeah,
Now, what
we
I'm
have to
saying,
abandon low-lying areas
no,
na.
it's not abandon, but do not use it as a housing or a shelter. Maybe parking lot or whatever para pagba, pwedeng umalis na doon. You cannot put a
Yes,
hospital there. Hindi ba yung
yes.
hospital
Oo.
binadyan that time?
Oo.
Kung, what I'm saying is that those are non-structural measures. In fact, in the World Bank study again, estimate there are priority areas na about 700,000 people they have to be removed in those low-lying areas. Kamanaba, dyan sa San Juan River, some areas in Marikina, almost three-fourths of a million people you remove.
Oh, but and this was back in 2010.
That's 2010,
Oo,
iba na naman.
siguradong dumami na yung tao doon. So, ang
Dumami na.
sinasabi niyo, Doc, no? So, no infrastructure project can save these low-lying areas dahil nga babaha lang ng babaha yan. I mean, no matter
Pero,
what we do,
in other
talagang
words,
hindi talaga siya fit for human habitation.
yes. In other words, if we run simulation models, again, I keep on talking about that, yung scenario na ganito, Karina or Undoy, and it could happen again and again, what will be the socio-economics of that? Do you still want to live there? In flood disaster as a management, you have these 5 or 7 suits from mitigation, prevention, you have this adaptation, early warning, response, recovery, and so on. Ang ginagawa natin parang response recovery lang, di ba? Can we prevent? Can we mitigate? Maybe walang mitigation noon. So we prevent. Now, kung ibaguhin natin yung use noon, hindi sa titira, or gusto nang tumira, meron bang adequate flood warning? O sige, mag-siren ka para tumakbo na sila, which is what we do in Marikina. But can you really tolerate that? Pero mayroong coping mechanism ng mga tao, maybe wala silang choice. Okay lang sa kanila na umalis-uli sila. But you have the risk na merong ayaw umalis. Yan namatay. And all this gasto pag-rescue and so on, is that economic? We keep on rescuing people.
Yes, yes. So, balikan natin tong sinasabing kailangan ng tanggalin yung population, ano? And yun nga,
Doon sa World Bank, yeah, there are areas.
yeah, which areas are these?
Uh,
Nabanggit
a
niyo
lot
E.
of them,
Rodriguez sa Quezon City.
that's one. There were areas in Marikina that I know na natanggal, even sa may Pasig, somewhere near the lakeshore, that area,
Yes,
or in
that
Taytay,
yeah.
in Malabon. It's in the World Bank study.
Yeah, so
That
those are very
government,
densely populated areas, no?
yes,
So
even
itong Iloilo na sinasabi niyo, ano yung ginawa doon na pwede nating tularan dito sa Luzon, dito sa Metro Manila
okay.
na
If you
ginawa
look
nila?
at
Sabi
it,
niya nga effective yung
yeah, if
ginawa
this
nila.
Iloilo, ganon, and this like north, and then this south, ito yung city. Instead of yung river goes this way pa sa city, they diverted it here towards the south east valley. Instead of going north to south, it was going down from north to southeast. So
So
na-avoid yung,
basically, naghukay sila ng bagong
yes,
daanan ng
they
ilog.
created a Mangahan floodway, so to speak. Mangahan floodway is a man-made channel that connected that lower Marikina around Rosario area, yung Circulo Verde, all the way to Laguna Lake.
Yeah. So was the
Naghukay
Mangahan
sila.
floodway effective? Effective ba kasi malaki din yung ginastos doon.
Yeah, the idea behind that is that you move the waters from, instead of going down to lower Marikina and Pasig, sa Napinnan, you temporarily store sa Laguna Lake. Around
Pero
dahan-dahan
ang
ito.
Laguna Lake din, Doc, hindi naman ganun kalalim yung Laguna Lake,
Ang
umaapaw din eh.
nangyari, you transferred the problem to Laguna Lake. Yung mga towns ng Santa Cruz or even parts of Bae, Los Baños, and then parts dito sa Binangonan and so on. Pag yung water elevation niya, DPWH datum, which is 10.4, 10.5 meters above sea level yung pinaka-zero niya. Ganon. Anyway, if you say 14 meters bale, as opposed to 11.5, pag 11.5 minus 10.5, that's only 1 meter above sea level. Yun ang meaning nun. Pag 14 minus 10.5, that's 3.5 meters above sea level. During Ondoy, umabot ng 14. Mga 12.5 or more, babayan na yung mga Santa Cruz na yan, and so on. Ngayon, during Ondoy, umabot ng 14. It took 90 days, or almost more than a little bit over 3 months, to move the water from 14 back to mga 12. Pero you were able to put from 12 to 14 during Ondoy lang bale. Anong karami yung ulan na yun? Napuno yung lake. And it took 3 months bago umupas ulit na gano'n. Because you diverted water to this. So essentially, you transferred the flood problem to them, to the Laguna towns. You were able to alleviate flooding in Pasig River along Makati or maybe along Malacanang or Pandacan. Pero yung nagsuffer yung mga taga Laguna towns, mga
Nilipat mo lang
Laguna,
sa Laguna Lake, no?
nilipat mo doon.
So ang pinakamagandang solusyon, ilipat ang tubig sa dagat talaga.
Sa dagat talaga. That's the reason dapat merong Parañaque Spillway para mabilis tumakbo doon. Pero hindi nga nagawa
Puntang
yan.
Manila Bay.
Papuntang Manila Bay, ano. That's the reason we need a dedicated body to be able to do all of this. Yung Department of Water Resources, part and parcel of that department, to look at this problem every day. Hindi pwede yung after 5 years, at after 10 years, may mangyari na malaki.
You mean a department? A department.
Yeah, the Department of Water Resources, it already passed Congress, third reading,
Oh.
being entertained by Senate na ngayon. Big part of that is to look into yung adaptive planning na sinasabi ko, and it will have a division to have planning, operation studies, scientific support, to see all these kinds of problems, on a continuous basis. It cannot be like reactive lang tayo parate.
Hindi sapat yung DPWH ngayon kasi yan ang
Ano
tinuturo ng
na,
marami.
the DPWH, if you look at the flood control na ginagawa nila, first of all, along national na mga waterways, highways, they don't really look at the local flooding. These are LGU issue. So meron ng mga subdivision, magtatayo ka, meron kang mga supposedly local na flood studies, what's the impact of that, pero ginagawa ba nila? Walang tumitingin sa kanila na gano'n. And then, given na lumabas na subdivision lang yung tubig, papunta doon sa national drainage, which is DPWH. Meron bang national drainage na adequate enough to move all the way to the rivers, to Manila Bay? Wala. So, and then if you look at flood control, that's why if a holistic manner, dapat tingnan mo lang sa watersheds. But the watershed is done by DNR. Are they really looking at flood control? They try to look at flood control, but they're more into landslides and things like that. Hindi talaga yung flood disasters. So walang coordination. So during the Senate hearing, they were talking about coordination, collaboration. But without the digital twin I'm talking about, because flooding is a wicked problem, It's a large-scale, complex, uncertain, unpredictable, non-linear, and so on. Kailangan ng vehicle to be able to see this. You run simulation, then visualize. Ano mangyari kung gawin na ito? Gawin natin yan. What happens in time, in space, for a prolonged storm as opposed to a sudden onset storm? Change in land use, change in mga behavior, garbage, and so on. All those things, to be able to see in a very big picture, holistic manner, you have that kind of digital twin. Otherwise, yung mga taga-DNR, yung mga taga-DPWH, yung mga LGU, hindi nila makikita yon. That's what it takes to do these kinds of problems. I mean, to solve problems like this. And then you have to time the investments. Investments are really parang ang hirap na makakuha ng pera agad. So if you are not able to do this, you're not able to do that, can you improvise? Can you retrofit? You have to do that kasi walang pera.
Okay, Doc, ang dami na nating napag-usapan na napaka-enlightening, no? So we wanna thank you for educating us, and we hope more of our policymakers listen to people like you. Dr. Guillermo Tabios, isang expert sa flood control systems. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay po kayo.
Thank you very much, Howie.
Hi, I'm Howie Severino. Check out the Howie Severino podcast. New episodes will stream every Thursday. Listen for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other platforms.